History is not the simple story of progress we were taught. Our ancestors achieved technological wonders that rival our own modern world, and archaeology is finally uncovering the proof. This video reveals 25 specific finds that expose a hidden age of incredible innovation. You will see how ancient engineers built machines, mastered materials, and planned cities with a sophistication that forces us to rewrite the history books. How did a 2,000-year-old device perform calculations as complex as a modern computer? Why would a Roman cup change color like magic? We are about to uncover the secrets of a lost world of genius. What does true human ingenuity look like when it's freed from our own assumptions? For generations, our history books presented a comforting and straightforward timeline. Humanity began as simple hunter-gatherers, then learned to farm, and much later, invented the machines that define our modern world. This neat, upward march of progress is a story we have all been told. But that story is wrong. Archaeology is now tearing down that linear narrative, revealing a past far more intricate and brilliant than we ever suspected. We are witnessing a true paradigm shift in how we understand our ancestors. This is not about finding evidence for alien visitors or mythical super-civilizations. It is about finally giving credit to the incredible ingenuity of human beings who, thousands of years ago, solved complex problems with the resources they had. They possessed a deep, working knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering principles that rival our own in their elegance and effectiveness. Modern tools are the key to this new vision. Technologies like Lycurgus, which can digitally peel back dense jungle canopies to reveal vast, planned cities, or isotopic analysis, which can trace the origin of a single metal artifact to a mine hundreds of miles away, are giving us X-ray vision into the past. The old timeline is not just being adjusted, it is shattering, making way for a story of human achievement so profound it forces us to rethink our very place in history. And this is just the beginning of our countdown. The first definitive proof emerged from the depths of the Aegean Sea. For nearly 2,000 years, the Antikythera Mechanism rested silently in a Roman shipwreck, its secrets locked inside a calcified lump of bronze and corrosion. When sponge divers first recovered it in 1901, it looked like a piece of junk, a navigational astrolabe at best. It was only decades later, when researchers began to carefully clean and X-ray the object, that the true miracle was revealed. They were staring at the innards of an ancient computer. This was not a simple calendar. It was an astoundingly complex device, a compact universe of precision engineering. Inside a wooden case roughly the size of a shoebox, more than 30 intermeshing bronze gears worked in perfect harmony. By turning a hand crank, an ancient user could predict the movement of the sun and moon, the phases of our lunar companion, and even the dates of upcoming Olympic Games and other major festivals. It could model the irregular orbit of the moon, a subtle motion that requires a sophisticated gear train called a differential, a component we thought was invented in the 16th century. This was not merely advanced for its time. The Antikythera Mechanism represented a technological peak that would not be reached again until the rise of complex mechanical clocks in Europe, more than 1,000 years later. Its very existence forces a single, haunting question onto us. If the ancient Greeks could build something this brilliant, what other mechanical wonders have been utterly lost, leaving not even a whisper in our history books? The Antikythera Mechanism forces us to confront the possibility of a lost technological golden age, but it is far from the only anomaly. Just as startling and far more enigmatic, is a discovery made in a museum basement in the 1930s. Curators cataloging artifacts from a 2,000-year-old village near modern Baghdad found a simple terracotta jar about the size of a man's fist. Inside it was a copper cylinder sealed at the bottom with asphalt, and within that cylinder an iron rod. It looked like nothing more than a strange storage container, a curious oddity. But when a researcher realized its true potential, this humble object, now known as the Baghdad Battery, shattered another piece of our historical timeline. If you were to fill this jar with a common acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, something any household in that era would have had, the entire assembly would suddenly become a primitive electrical cell. The acid would react with the two different metals, the iron and the copper, forcing a tiny electric current to flow between them. It would not be a powerful jolt, perhaps 1 volt at most, but it was a verifiable source of electricity, created nearly 2 millennia before Alessandro Volta invented the modern battery in 1800. So what was this ancient power source used for? The purpose remains one of archaeology's most tantalizing mysteries. Some scholars suggest it could have been used for electroplating, to deposit a thin layer of gold or silver onto other metal objects. A series of these jars linked together could have provided enough current for just such a delicate task. Others propose a more mystical use, where the faint tingling sensation from the device was employed in religious rituals or healing ceremonies, a tangible manifestation of a divine force. The true answer may be lost forever, but the object's very existence is what matters most. It proves that the fundamental principles of electrochemistry were not only observable in the ancient world, but were actively being experimented with. A forgotten artisan was tinkering with the basic forces of nature long before science had a name for them. This was not a one-off miracle like the Antikythera Mechanism. Several similar jars have been found, suggesting a repeated, purposeful design. The Baghdad Battery stands as a quiet, potent challenge to our assumptions, forcing us to wonder what other fundamental discoveries were made, used, and then forgotten by time, waiting silently in the dust for us to find them again. That same spirit of empirical genius, of manipulating the unseen, appears in an object of breathtaking beauty. In the hushed halls of the British Museum sits a Roman drinking vessel that seems to defy the very nature of reality. It is the Lycurgus Cup, a stunning glass cage cup from the 4th century. At first glance, under normal light, the cup is a solid, opaque jade green. But hold it up to a light source, let the illumination pass through the glass, and a miracle occurs. The entire vessel transforms, glowing with an ethereal, translucent ruby red. For centuries, this seemed like pure magic, a trick of the light that Roman artisans had somehow captured and tamed. The secret, however, was not magic at all. It was nanotechnology. Embedded within the glass are millions upon millions of microscopic particles of gold and silver. These particles are not just small, they are unimaginably fine, ground down to a scale of roughly 50 nanometers in size. To put that in perspective, a single strand of your hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide. At this infinitesimal scale, these precious metal fragments become something entirely new. They are nanoparticles, and they interact with light in a way that larger chunks of metal simply cannot. When light hits the cup from the outside, the nanoparticles reflect the green wavelengths back to your eye. But when light shines through the cup from behind, the particles allow the red wavelengths to pass through, creating that spectacular color-shifting glow. This phenomenon, known scientifically as dichroism, is a principle of colloidal chemistry. The Roman craftsmen who created this masterpiece had no concept of nanoparticles, no electron microscopes to see what they were doing, and certainly no theory of quantum mechanics to explain the light show they had engineered. Their knowledge was not theoretical. It was born from generations of painstaking, hands-on experimentation at the furnace. They were alchemists of the practical, discovering through trial and error that a precise, minuscule addition of powdered gold and silver to their glass melt would produce this miraculous effect. They perfected a recipe for wonder, achieving a level of material science that would not be formally understood by physicists until the 1900s. The Lycurgus Cup is far more than a beautiful relic. It is a shimmering testament to the power of human observation and artistic daring, a clear signal that ancient innovation could operate on a scale invisible to the naked eye, yet profound enough to change everything we see. But sometimes the desire to believe can outpace the evidence. In 1961, a group of rockhound collectors were searching for geodes in the Coso Mountains of California. They cracked open what appeared to be a promising nodule, expecting the beautiful crystalline interior of a typical geode. Instead, they found something utterly baffling. Encased within the solid rock was a cylindrical object with a metal core and a ceramic insulator, looking for all the world like a modern spark plug. The rock itself was estimated to be 500,000 years old, a date that, if true, would have turned all of human history on its head. How could a 20th century industrial object be sealed inside a stone formed long before modern humans even walked the earth? The so-called Coso artifact instantly became a sensation, hailed by some as definitive proof of a lost advanced civilization or even ancient extraterrestrial visitors. It was a mystery that seemed to validate every wild theory about our past. The truth, however, was far more ordinary, yet in its own way just as instructive. Geologists and archaeologists soon pointed out the obvious flaws. The nodule was not a true geode formed over millennia, but a hard concretion of clay and iron oxides that can form around a modern object in just decades, especially in a region with mineral-rich soil. The object inside was identified almost certainly as a champion spark plug from the 1920s, a common piece of machinery from the early days of automobile and small engine use in the area. The initial fervor was based on a simple case of mistaken identity, a modern intrusion misread as an ancient miracle. The real lesson of the Coso artifact is not about ancient technology, but about the scientific process itself. It stands as a powerful cautionary tale, reminding us that our excitement to uncover a hidden age of innovation must always be tempered by rigorous analysis and context. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and the true story of human ingenuity is wondrous enough without needing to invent mysteries. This critical eye is what separates wishful thinking from genuine discovery, ensuring that the paradigm-shifting finds, like the Antikythera Mechanism, are built on a foundation of unshakable proof. Another ancient object that blurs the line between art and science rests in the British Museum, a simple piece of rock crystal from the heart of the Assyrian Empire. Known as the Nimrud Lens, this 3,000-year-old fragment of quartz was carefully ground into an oval shape, with one side polished into a gentle convex curve. To the untrained eye, it might look like an unusual piece of jewelry or a decorative inlay, but its true purpose remains one of archaeology's quietest and most profound puzzles. Was this small disc the world's first magnifying glass, a tool to help an aging artisan with intricate work? Could it have been a burning lens, focused to a point to concentrate the sun's rays and start a fire? Some have even dared to suggest it was an element in a much larger device, a component of an early telescope used by Assyrian astronomers to chart the heavens. The truth is, we may never know its exact use for certain. Yet the lens's true significance lies not in its specific function, but in its very existence. The precision required to grind and polish a hard crystal-like quartz into a perfect optical form is immense. This was no accidental shape. It represents a deliberate, sophisticated attempt to manipulate light, to bend its path to a human purpose. If the Nimrud lens was indeed used for magnification, it pushes back the known history of optics by centuries. It means that Assyrian craftsmen were not merely skilled workers. They were proto-scientists conducting practical experiments with vision and focus. This single piece of crystal suggests a hidden world of inquiry, where the fundamental principles that would later lead to microscopes, telescopes, and all of modern optics were being explored in palace workshops. It is a silent witness to a forgotten age of optical innovation, proving that the quest to see more clearly, to see further, and to harness the power of light is an ancient human drive. While some ancient wonders manipulate light or compute the heavens, others stand defiantly against time itself. In the heart of Delhi, a silent sentinel has braved the elements for more than 16 centuries. The Iron Pillar of Delhi rises nearly 24 feet into the sky, a single, solid shaft of wrought iron forged in the 4th or 5th century. It has endured countless monsoon seasons, modern pollution, and the relentless passage of time with an almost supernatural resilience. While iron structures from just a century ago show deep scars of rust, this ancient pillar's surface remains smooth and remarkably intact, bearing only a dark protective patina. For generations, this defiance of a fundamental law of nature, the inevitable corrosion of iron, was a complete enigma. How could a metal object so ancient remain untouched by rust? The answer was not magic, but a stunningly sophisticated accident of metallurgy. Modern scientists, using tools like X-ray diffraction, finally unlocked the secret. The ancient Indian blacksmiths who crafted this monument used a specific type of iron ore that was unusually rich in the element phosphorus. During their meticulous and skillful forging process, they managed to distribute this phosphorus evenly throughout the iron. This unique chemical composition, combined with the way the metal was worked and cooled, prompted the formation of an incredibly thin, invisible shield on the pillar's surface. This shield is a compound called mesowite, a passive layer that acts as a perfect barrier against moisture and oxygen, the very agents that cause rust. The craftsmen had no knowledge of chemistry or molecular compounds. Their mastery was entirely empirical, born from generations of observing fire and metal. They perfected a recipe through practice, not theory, and in doing so, they created a form of iron that modern science has only recently learned to replicate. This pillar is far more than a historical monument. It is a living testament to a lost school of materials science, a masterpiece of practical engineering that continues to challenge our assumptions about the limits of ancient technology. It stands as a quiet, enduring challenge, forcing us to ask what other secrets of durability and material mastery were discovered, used, and then forgotten by the ancient world. Yet even the most stubborn material secrets can, in theory, be unlocked with enough time and scientific rigor. But what happens when we are confronted with an artifact that actively resists all understanding, a puzzle that has defied every attempt at a solution for over a century? This is the enduring enigma of the Voynich Manuscript, housed in Yale University's Voynich Library. This 240-page book from the 15th century is perhaps the most famous unread book in the world. Its pages are a gallery of the bizarre, filled with illustrations of plants that have never existed on Earth, diagrams of celestial systems that do not match our night sky, and countless drawings of tiny, naked women bathing in intricate, interconnected pools of green liquid. And every single page is covered in an elegant, flowing script, an entire alphabet of unknown characters that has resisted the efforts of top military codebreakers, linguists, and artificial intelligence. The sheer physicality of the book is a testament to its importance. It is a lavishly produced vellum codex, a material that was incredibly expensive and time-consuming to produce, meaning its creation required significant wealth and purpose. This was no casual doodle or simple hoax. Someone invested a massive amount of resources into creating this beautiful, impenetrable object. So what is it? The theories are as varied as they are compelling. Some believe it is a coded scientific text, preserving forbidden knowledge about botany or astronomy in a cipher meant to protect it from the church. Others argue it is a work of esoteric philosophy, a visual representation of spiritual concepts we no longer comprehend. There is even a strong case that it is a brilliantly executed fake, created to dupe a wealthy patron, though the consistency and complexity of the script make this seem less likely. The true answer may forever be out of reach, but the Voynich Manuscript's greatest lesson is not about its content. Its power lies in its sheer, unyielding strangeness. It represents the absolute outer limit of our understanding, a stark reminder that human innovation is not always a linear path we can easily trace. Sometimes it blossoms in complete isolation, creating a system of knowledge and expression so alien to our own way of thinking that we cannot even begin to categorize it. This book challenges us to expand our very definition of what knowledge can look like, forcing us to acknowledge that entire intellectual traditions may have risen, flourished, and vanished, leaving behind only a single, beautiful, and utterly incomprehensible relic. While the Voynich Manuscript represents an intellectual mystery, another artifact presents a puzzle of pure physical form. In 1898, inside a 2,000-year-old tomb near Saqqara, Egypt, archaeologists uncovered a small object carved from sycamore wood. At first glance, it was catalogued as a simple model of a bird, likely a ceremonial representation of a falcon. It was stored away with countless other grave goods, its true nature overlooked for decades. But when a modern eye, trained in the principles of aerodynamics, looked at this object again, a startling possibility emerged. This was no ordinary bird. The artifact, now known as the Saqqara Bird, possesses a design that seems to defy its own era. Its wings are sleek and straight, engineered for lift. More importantly, it features a distinct vertical tail fin. This is the crucial detail. No bird in nature has a vertical tail fin like this. Such a feature is, however, absolutely fundamental to the stability of an aircraft. In a glider or a plane, the vertical stabilizer keeps the nose pointed forward, preventing an uncontrolled spin. The Saqqara Bird's tail fin is not merely decorative. It is aerodynamically sound. So what are we to make of this? The mainstream interpretation remains that it is a stylized bird, perhaps a child's toy or a ritual object. Yet the existence of this perfectly shaped tail fin forces a more provocative question. Could it be evidence of early aeronautical curiosity? We know the ancient Egyptians were master observers of nature. They watched birds soar on thermal currents and understood the basic concepts of wind and lift from their experiences with sailboats on the Nile. It is not a giant leap to imagine a brilliant, unknown artisan carving this object not just as a likeness of a bird, but as a model to test a principle. They may have been trying to physically understand why a bird flies, not just that it flies. There is no evidence to suggest the ancient Egyptians achieved powered flight. No engines have been found, no blueprints for aircraft, but the Saqqara Bird stands as a powerful symbol of a universal human instinct. It represents that moment of observation turning into inspiration, the primal urge to reach for the sky and conquer the domain of the birds. This small wooden artifact challenges the very timeline of invention, forcing us to wonder if the dream of flight was born not in a bicycle shop in Ohio, but in the brilliant, inquisitive minds of artisans thousands of years earlier. The dream of flight is a powerful human instinct, but so too is the urge to chart the unknown. Just a few years after the Saqqara bird was first unearthed in Egypt, a discovery in an entirely different part of the world would challenge the very history of global exploration. In 1929, during the conversion of a former imperial palace in Istanbul into a museum, a forgotten parchment was pulled from the dust. It was a fragment of a world map drawn on gazelle skin in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. The surviving piece alone was a cartographic marvel, depicting the coast of South America with an accuracy that seemed to defy its time. But it was a detail at the very bottom of the parchment that ignited a firestorm of controversy. Below the tip of South America, the map showed a landmass, a long, rugged coastline that many researchers argue is a startlingly accurate representation of Antarctica. This alone would be impossible, as Antarctica was not officially discovered by European explorers until 1820, more than 300 years after this map was drawn. Yet the impossibility deepens. The Piri Reis Map does not just show a vague outline of this southern land. It appears to depict the continent's actual topography, the shape of the land itself, as it would exist without its mile-thick ice cap. How could a 16th-century admiral, with the technology available to him, possibly know what lay beneath thousands of years of accumulated ice? The most accepted scholarly explanation is a mixture of brilliant compilation and speculative guesswork. Piri Reis himself wrote that he used many source maps to create his work, including some that were captured from Portuguese and Spanish explorers, and even charts he claimed dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. The Antarctica on his map, mainstream historians suggest, is likely a speculative landmass, a hypothetical terra australis that cartographers had long believed must exist to balance the northern continents. The accurate parts of South America are credited to these lost Portuguese charts, but the haunting precision of the coastline, when compared to modern seismic surveys of the subglacial continent, continues to fuel a compelling alternative theory. It suggests that Piri Reis had access to far more ancient source maps, charts drawn by a pre-modern, advanced seafaring civilization that somehow mapped the world during a warm period when the Antarctic coast was free of ice. This would have been thousands of years before the rise of the Ottoman Empire. The Piri Reis Map is more than an old navigational aid. It is a puzzle box of human knowledge, a tantalizing clue that the great age of exploration, with its brave captains and caravels, may not have been a first discovery at all, but a rediscovery of lands and coastlines that had been known, charted, and then utterly forgotten by a lost age of maritime innovators. Far from the coded pages of manuscripts and the metal secrets of pillars, an entirely different kind of mystery lies half-buried in the river deltas of Costa Rica. Here, nestled in the jungle soil or standing silent in town squares, are hundreds of massive stone spheres. These are not rough-hewn boulders. They are monuments of breathtaking geometry, carved with such precision that they achieve a near-perfect spherical form. The largest of them weigh over 15 tons, the equivalent of 3 full-grown elephants, yet they possess a smooth, almost unnatural curvature. They were crafted by the Dikwis culture over a 1,000-year period, beginning around 300 AD, and their original purpose is still debated. Were they territorial markers for powerful chiefs, symbols of cosmic order arranged in patterns mimicking constellations, or sacred objects representing the sun and moon? While their meaning is lost to us, their creation is not. The true wonder of these spheres is not why they were made, but how. The Dikwis people had no metal tools to carve the incredibly hard granodiorite stone. Their entire manufacturing process was a masterpiece of applied physics and patience. They began by selecting a large boulder and then building a hot fire directly against its surface. Once the stone was superheated, they would rapidly cool it with water. This thermal shock caused the outer layer to fracture and flake away. Then, with smaller, harder rocks, they began the agonizingly slow process of pecking and grinding at the surface, gradually shaping the stone through countless impacts and abrasions. This was not random chipping. It was a controlled, deliberate act of reduction. The artisans had to maintain a perfect mental model of a sphere in their minds, constantly checking their progress against this ideal form, removing material evenly from all sides to preserve symmetry. Achieving this level of sphericity without modern measuring tools or mathematics is a staggering feat of spatial reasoning and hand-eye coordination. It speaks to a deep, intuitive understanding of geometry and fracture mechanics, knowledge gained not from textbooks but from generations of working stone. These spheres are not complex machines. They contain no moving parts. Their innovation is one of pure form, a testament to the human capacity for perfection. They represent a different path of technological advancement, where the ultimate goal was not efficiency or power, but beauty, harmony, and the profound satisfaction of imposing a perfect, mathematical idea onto the stubborn chaos of the natural world. Deep within the crypts of an Egyptian temple, a stone carving seems to defy its own era. On a wall in the temple of Hathor at Dendera, a massive relief shows a strange and compelling scene. A priest holds up a large, bulb-shaped object, and inside it, a snake uncoils in a wavy line, its head pointing outward. This serpent is tethered by a cord to a small box on which the priest is kneeling. To a modern eye, the resemblance is uncanny. It looks exactly like a giant, ancient light bulb, with the snake as its glowing filament and the box as its power source. This is the Dendera light, and it has become a legendary symbol for those who believe ancient civilizations possessed electrical knowledge. The interpretation seems almost too perfect to ignore. Could this truly be a depiction of forgotten technology? A working electric lamp that illuminated the dark, windowless chambers of the pyramids? Mainstream Egyptology offers a very different and far more spiritually rich explanation. The scene is not a technical diagram, but a profound religious symbol. The bulb is not a bulb at all, but a lotus flower, a sacred symbol of creation. The snake is not a filament, but a divine serpent representing the god Harsomptus, emerging from the lotus as a manifestation of life force. The entire tableau is a visual representation of the Egyptian creation myth, depicting the moment the cosmos sprang into being from the primordial waters. There is no evidence of any electrical components, wires, or power sources ever found at the site. The Dendera light forces a crucial question about how we view the past. Are we seeing literal technology, or are we simply projecting our own modern world, our own frame of reference, onto a complex system of symbols we no longer fully understand? This carving is a powerful lesson in interpretation. It reminds us that ancient innovation was not always separate from their spirituality. Their most advanced technology was often their worldview, a system where myth and meaning were the ultimate tools for understanding and interacting with the universe. To see only a light bulb in this sacred scene is to miss its true brilliance, a different kind of illumination altogether. A different kind of fire once ruled the seas, a weapon so terrifying it could not be extinguished by water. This was Greek fire, the legendary incendiary substance of the Byzantine Empire. Historical accounts describe a liquid flame that would cling to the wooden hulls of enemy ships, burning fiercely even as waves crashed over it, creating an inescapable inferno on the water. Its deployment was a spectacle of psychological warfare, a horror show designed to shatter enemy morale as much as to destroy their fleets. But the true secret of Greek fire was not just its fearsome fuel, but the entire system built around it. This was not a simple pot of burning oil. It was a terrifyingly advanced form of chemical technology for its time. The exact recipe was a state secret of such immense value that knowledge was compartmentalized, known only to a very few, perhaps even a single family. Historians and chemists have since pieced together its likely components. A volatile petroleum-based mixture probably involving crude naphtha and quicklime, which would ignite upon contact with water. Yet the recipe alone was useless without its delivery system. Byzantine engineers designed specialized bronze siphons mounted on the prows of their warships. These were not simple pouring mechanisms. They were pressurized projectors, likely using pumps and bellows to vomit a continuous stream of liquid fire over a significant distance, turning a naval vessel into a floating flamethrower. This combination of a secret chemical formula and a complex mechanical delivery device represents a complete technological system, a coordinated innovation in both chemistry and engineering. Greek fire secured Byzantine naval dominance for centuries, but its success also ensured its eventual disappearance. Because the secret was so closely guarded, it was never widely recorded. When the empire finally fell, the knowledge died with its last custodians. This legendary weapon stands as a stark and sobering monument to a different driver of innovation. It reminds us that some of the most advanced ancient technologies were born from the urgent, brutal necessities of conflict, brilliant secrets of applied science that were created for war and were ultimately lost to it, leaving behind only echoes of their terrifying power. The silent, stoic faces of Easter Island's Moai have gazed inland for centuries, a permanent mystery carved from volcanic rock. These iconic giants, some weighing over 80 tons, stand miles from the quarry where they were born. For generations, their journey was the central puzzle. How could a people with no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal move these colossal figures across rugged terrain? The answer reveals an innovation not of complex machinery, but of beautifully simple physics. Recent experiments have demonstrated a compelling solution. By lashing ropes around the statue's head and base, teams of people could rock the Moai from side to side. With each coordinated pull, the massive stone would tilt forward onto its curved belly, effectively making it walk its way across the landscape. This walking theory is more than just a clever trick. It represents a profound, practical understanding of leverage, center of gravity, and rhythmic, collective effort. The true marvel here is not the statue itself, but the invisible social engine behind it. To move a single Moai required the coordinated labor of dozens, if not hundreds, of people working in perfect unison. This was a society that could mobilize its entire population for a monumental, ritualistic task. Their innovation was not just in moving stone, but in moving people, organizing a community around a shared spiritual goal. This showcases a completely different paradigm of achievement, one where the greatest invention was not a tool, but the social agreement to undertake the impossible together. It forces us to ask what we are capable of when an entire culture pulls in the same direction, walking their gods slowly and deliberately into place. But the desire to shape the landscape on a monumental scale was not unique to the island cultures of the Pacific. On the high, arid plains of southern Peru, an entire desert floor became a canvas for one of humanity's most ambitious and enigmatic art projects. The Nazca lines are a sprawling gallery of geoglyphs, massive designs etched into the dark, stony ground by removing the top layer of pebbles to reveal the lighter earth beneath. From ground level, they appear as little more than shallow, meandering pathways, their purpose impossible to grasp. To see them as they were meant to be seen, you must ascend to the sky. Only from the air does the full spectacle unfold. A colossal hummingbird, its wings outstretched over the sand, a sprawling spider, each leg perfectly defined. A sinuous monkey with a coiled tail and vast geometric shapes that stretch for kilometers in perfectly straight lines. Created by the Nazca culture over a 1,000-year period, these figures were not made for human eyes. The people who made them never saw their work in its completed, breathtaking glory. So why would a society invest such immense, coordinated effort into art they could not physically perceive? The theories are as vast as the drawings themselves. Some researchers see a giant astronomical calendar, with the lines pointing to celestial events on the horizon. Others argue they were sacred pathways, trod by priests during rituals to summon life, giving water from the parched earth. Perhaps they were offerings, messages to gods who resided in the sky, making the entire desert a prayer made visible. The true purpose may forever be a mystery, but the innovation lies not in the why, but in the how. The sheer scale and precision of these geoglyphs is an engineering marvel. The Nazca people had no aerial views, no drones, no sophisticated mapping software. They achieved this perfection using simple tools, likely ropes and wooden stakes, and an incredibly sophisticated understanding of geometry. They mastered the art of scaling up. They would first create a small-scale model of a design on a grid. Then, using a unified system of measurement, they would transfer that grid onto the desert floor at a vastly enlarged scale, coordinating teams of workers to clear the stones along the plotted line. The straight lines that run for miles without deviating demonstrate a profound knowledge of surveying, likely using simple sighting posts to maintain a true course across the undulating terrain. This was not random scratching in the dirt. It was a deliberate, mathematically precise act of landscape art. The Nazca lines are a testament to a culture that thought in grand, abstract terms. They manipulated their entire environment to communicate with a realm beyond their own physical reach, proving that innovation can be driven by faith and vision as much as by practical need. They left behind a puzzle that can only be solved from a vantage point they never knew, challenging us to understand the mind of a people who could conceive of a giant condor in the sand, a masterpiece they entrusted only to the wind and the sky. From the sprawling desert canvases of the Nazca, we travel to the dense jungles of Colombia, where small golden objects whisper a different kind of aerial mystery. The Quimbaya artifacts, crafted by a skilled civilization around 1000 AD, are a collection of intricate gold figurines. For generations, they were comfortably categorized by archaeologists as stylized insects, birds, or other animals, their forms abstracted into simple, beautiful shapes for ritual or adornment. But a modern eye sees something startlingly familiar. When you hold one of these objects, you are not looking at the rounded body of a bird or the segmented form of an insect. You see a sleek, streamlined fuselage. You see swept-back, delta-shaped wings. Most tellingly, you see a perfectly vertical, upright tail fin. This is the exact configuration of a modern jet aircraft. The resemblance is so precise, so mechanically sound, that it feels impossible to ignore. Could these be evidence of pre-Columbian knowledge of flight? The mainstream and most accepted explanation remains that they are artistic representations of the natural world. The Quimbaya people were master goldsmiths and keen observers of their environment. They would have seen flying fish leaping from rivers or certain types of winged seeds spiraling through the air, forms that naturally evolve for aerodynamic efficiency. Their art may have captured these biological blueprints, resulting in shapes that coincidentally mirror our own engineered solutions. Yet the coincidence is profoundly eerie. These artifacts do not just look vaguely like planes, they incorporate specific features like the tailfin that have no clear biological counterpart in the region. This has led to alternative theories that the Quimbaya were depicting something else entirely, something they had witnessed or conceptualized that we would only later invent. The true power of the Quimbaya airplanes lies not in proving ancient jet travel, but in the deep questions they raise about observation and inspiration. They force us to ask where the line falls between representing nature and intuiting a principle. An artist intently watching a bird soar might abstract its form to its most efficient elements, unconsciously arriving at the same fundamental shape that an aeronautical engineer would draft on a blueprint a millennium later. These golden objects are a fascinating intersection of art and potential technology. They challenge our categories and remind us that the human mind, when focused on the phenomenon of flight, whether in nature or in imagination, can converge on a universal truth of form and function. They are a beautiful enigma, suggesting that the seeds of our greatest inventions may have been sown in the brilliant, creative minds of artists thousands of years ago. These walls are a kind of stone puzzle, a testament to an engineering philosophy that saw strength not in rigidity but in flexibility. The Incas built for a land alive with earthquakes. They understood that a monolithic, rigid wall would shatter when the ground shook. Their solution was a masterpiece of seismic genius. Each of these colossal blocks is an individual, free to shift and settle minutely during a tremor. The complex, interlocking joints and the slight inward lean of the walls guide this movement, allowing the entire structure to dance with the earthquake rather than fight against it. When the shaking stops, the stones simply settle back into their perfect, locked positions. This is not just building, it is a conversation with the forces of nature. The innovation here was a profound understanding that true resilience lies in the ability to adapt. This knowledge did not come from a textbook. It was earned through generations of observing how the land moved and then applying that wisdom on a monumental scale. The scale of the labor itself is its own form of innovation. To quarry, transport, and dress these 100-ton giants using only stone hammers and bronze chisels required more than just muscle. It required a society capable of immense organization, a civilization that could coordinate thousands of skilled workers in a single, harmonious effort. Each block is a signature of that collective will, a permanent record of a culture that could achieve the seemingly impossible through shared purpose and an unparalleled mastery of their material world. Another enigma of fired clay sits silently in a museum on Crete. The Phaistos disc, roughly the size of a small plate, was uncovered in the ruins of a Minoan palace from the 2nd millennium BC. At first glance, it appears to be a simple circle of baked earth, but its surface tells a different story. Both sides are covered in a tight, spiraling sequence of symbols, a mysterious text marching from the outer edge inward. There are 241 individual impressions in total, made from 45 distinct signs. We see human heads, birds, fish, and plants, all arranged in what clearly seems to be a deliberate message. But this message is locked away, for the script of the Phaistos disc is unlike any other writing ever found. It has resisted every attempt at decipherment for over a century, making it one of the world's most famous and frustrating linguistic puzzles. The mystery, however, goes far deeper than the words themselves. It is in the very method of its creation. Each symbol on the disc was not carved by hand. Instead, they were stamped into the soft clay using individual pre-formed seals, one for each character. This means the Minoan artisan who made this object was using a form of movable type printing. They had a set of reusable typefaces, and they pressed them into the clay in a specific order to compose their text. This technology is staggering. It is the earliest known example of movable type in human history, appearing more than 3,000 years before Johannes Gutenberg's printing press revolutionized Europe. Yet here is the true heart of the mystery. This revolutionary information technology appears nowhere else. No other Minoan clay tablets use this method. No other examples of these stamped symbols have ever been found. It is a single, solitary data point in the archaeological record, a flash of genius that illuminated the ancient world for one brief moment and then vanished without a trace. The Phaistos disk is not just an undeciphered message, it is a ghost of a road not taken. It proves that a brilliant innovation can be born, used for a single, unknown purpose, and then simply fade away, leaving behind no lineage, no evolution, and no explanation. It forces us to confront a humbling truth about progress. It is not an inevitable upward march. It is a fragile chain of ideas, and sometimes the most revolutionary links are the ones that fall away, leaving only a single, silent disk to whisper of what might have been. High on the arid plains of Bolivia, the Gate of the Sun stands as a solitary monument to a forgotten cosmic order. Carved from a single 10-ton block of andesite granite, this massive archway was the centerpiece of the ancient city of Tiwanaku. But it is far more than a grand entrance. Its surface is a tapestry of intricate carvings, a stone codex that some researchers believe contains a sophisticated luni-solar calendar. At the center of the frieze looms a powerful figure, often interpreted as a solar deity, tears of rain or perhaps lightning streaming from its eyes. This central god is surrounded by a procession of 48 winged effigies, a precise celestial court where 30 figures bear human faces and 19 are crowned with the heads of condors. This specific number is the key to the mystery. Why 48? Why the deliberate split between human and avian forms? The theory is that this entire composition is a complex astronomical computer carved in stone. The figures may represent a system for tracking the cycles of the sun and moon, reconciling the lunar month with the solar year. They might even chart the intricate 584-day synodic cycle of the planet Venus, a celestial body of immense importance to pre-Columbian cultures. If this interpretation is correct, it means the Tiwanaku people were not merely stargazers. They were master timekeepers, encoding a deep, mathematical understanding of celestial mechanics into the very fabric of their most sacred architecture. This gate was not just a passageway for people, but a portal between the earth and the heavens, a permanent record of a civilization that saw the universe as a grand, predictable mechanism and built their world in its image. The sheer effort required to execute this vision is a testament to its importance. Quarrying this monolithic slab, transporting it without wheels or draft animals, and then carving it with such precise, unwavering detail speaks of a society wholly dedicated to preserving its cosmic knowledge for eternity. The Gate of the Sun forces us to see calendars not as paper pages, but as monumental stone declarations, proving that the quest to measure time is one of humanity's oldest and most profound innovations. Amidst the rough and tumble world of Viking warfare, where a shattered blade could mean a swift death, one name stood as a mark of unquestioned superiority. The Ulfberht sword, forged between the 9th and 11th centuries, these weapons were so revered that their name was inlaid into the blade itself in iron letters, a permanent signature of quality. For a long time, historians assumed these were simply the finest examples of European blacksmithing. the product of a particularly skilled local forge. But when modern metallurgists finally analyzed the metal itself, they uncovered a truth far more revolutionary. The Ulfberht swords were not just good for their time, they were made of a material that should not have existed in Europe for another 500 years. This was crucible steel, also known as Damascus steel, a substance of almost mythical purity. While typical Viking-era swords were made from a bloomery iron that was full of brittle slag and impurities, the Ulfberht blades were something else entirely. Their carbon content was high and perfectly consistent, around 1.5%, and they were nearly free of the slag inclusions that made other swords prone to shattering in combat. The result was a weapon that was both incredibly hard, capable of holding a razor-sharp edge, and remarkably flexible, able to bend under stress without breaking. Wielding an Ulfberht was like bringing a modern precision tool to a brawl of crude hammers. So how did Norse smiths acquire this futuristic metal? The answer rewrites our image of Vikings as isolated raiders. The raw material, known as Wootz steel, originated thousands of miles away in the workshops of Central Asia and the Islamic caliphates. This was not a case of plunder. A shattered blade from battle is useless. This was a deliberate, sustained import operation. The Ulfberht swords are physical proof of a vast, sophisticated trade network, where high-quality steel ingots traveled along the river routes of Russia and the Baltic, passing through countless hands from the Volga to the Rhine. Viking traders actively sought out this superior material, recognizing its quality and integrating it into their own cultural framework. The innovation was not in inventing the steel, but in the global vision to find it, transport it, and master the forging techniques to work it. This was not just commerce, it was early globalization in the service of technological supremacy. The Ulfberht is more than a weapon. It is a passport stamped with the journeys of its creation, a silent witness to an interconnected world where the best ideas, no matter how distant, could be forged into a legend. The timeline of civilization is not just being rewritten, it is being reversed. On a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey, a structure so ancient it defies comprehension stands as a silent rebuke to everything we thought we knew. Göbekli Tepe was constructed around 9600 BCE, a date so remote it predates the invention of the wheel, pottery, and even writing by millennia. It is 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. This is not a simple settlement or a primitive village. It is a sanctuary of staggering ambition, built from massive T-shaped limestone pillars, each weighing many tons, arranged into vast, deliberate circles. These monoliths are not blank stones. They are a gallery of prehistoric art, covered in exquisitely carved reliefs of foxes, scorpions, vultures, and lions, a menagerie of power and symbolism frozen in time. The true revolution of Göbekli Tepe, however, is not in its stones but in its builders. This monumental complex was not created by a settled, farming society. It was the handiwork of hunter-gatherers, nomadic people who, according to our old historical models, were supposed to be living a hand-to-mouth existence, constantly on the move in search of food. They should not have had the time, the resources, or the social organization to quarry, transport, and erect these colossal pillars. Yet they did. This single fact shatters the foundational story of human progress. For generations, we were taught a simple sequence. First, humans discovered agriculture, which created a food surplus. That surplus allowed for permanent settlements and a division of labor. Only then, with these foundations in place, could humanity turn its attention to complex religion, art, and monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe turns this logic completely upside down. Here, the architecture came first. The evidence suggests that the desire to build this sacred place, to gather for a common spiritual purpose, may have been the very engine that forced the invention of agriculture. How else could you feed the hundreds of workers needed for such a project? The need to supply a permanent, non-food producing ritual center with a reliable food source may have prompted the first deliberate cultivation of wild grains and the domestication of animals. The temple, in essence, may have created the farm. This site represents the ultimate social innovation, the profound ability to coordinate large, disparate groups of people around a shared idea, a collective vision that was greater than any individual. It was not the luxury of surplus that created civilization, but the sheer force of a common belief, a shared need to build something impossible together. Göbekli Tepe forces us to ask a humbling question. What if the first and most important technology was not the plow or the irrigation ditch, but the human capacity for collective action and shared dreams? While we marvel at the organizational genius of Göbekli Tepe, the physical proof of ancient durability stands firm in the heart of Rome. The Pantheon's dome is a monument of impossible scale, a perfect hemisphere of concrete that has sheltered worshippers for nearly 2,000 years. It remains the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, a title it has held since its completion under Emperor Hadrian. This is not just an old building, it is a living rebuke to our own modern infrastructure, where concrete bridges and overpasses often require major repairs after just 50 years. The Roman formula was clearly different, a lost recipe for immortality in stone. For centuries, the secret was buried in the ruins themselves, but modern science has finally cracked the code. The Romans did not use the simple Portland cement that forms the basis of our modern concrete. Their mixture was a sophisticated blend of lime and a specific type of volcanic ash known as pozzolana, named for the town of Pozzuoli near Mount Vesuvius. This ash is the key ingredient, and its magic is activated by a seemingly destructive force, water. When seawater, rich in minerals, slowly seeps into the concrete over centuries, it does not cause the material to crumble. Instead, it triggers a long-term chemical reaction. The water interacts with the lime and the volcanic ash, forming rare, interlocking crystals that fill in any tiny cracks that begin to form. This is the true miracle of Roman concrete. It is not a static material that slowly degrades. It is a dynamic, almost living substance that possesses a self-healing property. The very thing that destroys our modern structures, water and time, actually makes the Roman version stronger. This was not an accident. Roman engineers were master empiricists. They observed that mixtures using this particular volcanic ash created a mortar that could set underwater and last for ages. They perfected the recipe through generations of practical application, building harbors, aqueducts, and temples that were designed to endure forever. They achieved a level of material science that our own engineers are now desperately trying to reverse engineer. The goal is to create a new generation of self-healing concrete that could seal its own cracks, drastically reducing maintenance costs and extending the life of our vital structures. So we are left with a profound irony. Our most advanced laboratories are now working to replicate a building material that was common 2 millennia ago. This ancient innovation, born from careful observation and practical need, has in many ways outpaced our own, offering a silent, enduring lesson in the power of designing not just for the present, but for the distant, unknowable future. Another ingenious leap in instrumental science occurred far to the east, in the Han Dynasty court of 2nd century China. Here, the scholar Zhang Heng presented the emperor with a device of breathtaking elegance and purpose, the world's first seismoscope. This was not a simple weather vane or a ceremonial object. It was a machine designed to feel the earth itself tremble from incredible distances. The apparatus was a masterpiece of bronze artistry, a large urn adorned with 8 dragon heads spaced evenly around its rim. Each dragon clutched a heavy bronze ball in its jaws, and directly below each serpent, a corresponding bronze frog sat with its mouth wide open, waiting. The true genius, however, was hidden inside the vessel. Historical accounts suggest a delicately balanced, inverted pendulum was suspended at the center. When the subtle, primary waves of a distant earthquake traveled hundreds of miles to reach the capital, they would jolt this internal mechanism. The precise tremor would cause just one of the dragons to release its ball, which would clatter decisively into the frog's mouth below. The specific dragon that dropped its ball pointed directly toward the epicenter of the quake, providing an immediate and vital directional reading. While the original device has been lost to time, and its exact internal mechanics remain a subject of debate, modern engineers have built working replicas based on the descriptions. These models confirm that the principle is not only sound but remarkably effective. Zhang Heng's seismoscope did more than just warn of danger. It transformed an earthquake from a terrifying, localized act of God into a measurable, predictable physical event that could be tracked and analyzed from afar. This was a conceptual revolution cast in bronze, an innovation that gave a silent Earth a voice, and demonstrated a grasp of geophysics that would not be matched in the West for over 1,500 years. While empires raised monuments to gods and kings, another civilization was perfecting a technology dedicated to the dignity of daily life. In the meticulously planned cities of the Indus Valley, like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, innovation was not found in towering temples but in the ground beneath their feet. From around 2500 BC, these people engineered the world's first known urban sanitation system, a network of such foresight it would feel modern even today. Walk down one of their straight, wide streets, and you would find a city breathing with order. Nearly every single house contained its own dedicated bathroom, a private space for washing, with a floor that sloped towards a drainage channel. But this was just the beginning. From each home, these channels fed into a city-wide web of covered drains and sewers, all meticulously constructed from durable, baked brick. This was not a haphazard arrangement. It was a masterwork of civic hydraulic engineering. The system featured manholes at regular intervals, allowing for inspection and maintenance, a clear indication that this was a planned, managed public utility. All waste was deliberately channeled away from the living quarters and the freshwater supply, demonstrating a profound, collective understanding of the link between cleanliness and public health. This was a society that had made a conscious, communal decision to invest its resources and labor not in a pyramid for a pharaoh, but in a subterranean network for every citizen. The true genius of the Indus Valley was not a golden artifact or a mysterious machine. It was this foundational commitment to organized infrastructure. It represents a paradigm of civilization where the measure of advancement was not just grand art or powerful weapons, but the quality of life for the entire community. This innovation in public health and urban planning was so advanced that it would vanish from the world for millennia, not re-emerging on a similar scale until the height of the Roman Empire. It stands as a powerful, silent testament to the idea that the most vital revolutions are often the quiet ones, the unseen systems that make a city not just a collection of buildings, but a healthy, functioning home. A single silver coin speaks of a journey across an ocean. Found nestled in the shell heaps of a Native American settlement in Maine, this small artifact, known as the Maine penny, carries a weight far beyond its size. Minted in Norway between 1065 and 1080, its very presence on the other side of the Atlantic is a quiet revolution. This is not just an old coin, it is the only pre-Columbian Norse object ever discovered within the United States. Its solitary nature tells a complex story. This was not dropped by a Viking raiding party on a New England beach. It was found deep within a Wabanaki site, a place of community and trade, suggesting it arrived not by conquest but through connection. The most likely path for this Norse coin was a long, intricate chain of hand-to-hand exchange. From the established Viking base at Elance Aux Meadows in Newfoundland, goods and ideas could have traveled south along ancient, indigenous trade routes that stretched for thousands of miles. A Norse axe blade, a piece of woven cloth, or a handful of coins could have been traded from one community to the next, moving slowly down the coast over generations. The main penny is the lone, surviving physical proof of that vast, invisible network. It is a testament to the innovative spirit of exploration that existed on both sides of the Atlantic. Norse sailors possessed the maritime technology to cross the ocean, while Native American societies had developed complex, continent-spanning systems of exchange. The coin is a point where these two worlds of innovation met. It whispers of encounters we have no written records for, of conversations and trades that happened centuries before Columbus set sail. It challenges the simplistic story of one man discovering a new world, replacing it with a far richer tapestry of sporadic yet profound transoceanic contact. This one coin forces us to expand our map of the medieval world, revealing an age where the Atlantic was not an impassable barrier, but a highway for the bold, connecting continents in ways we are only beginning to understand. Our final find never actually happened, yet its story is more revealing than any real artifact. High in the remote Bayan Karaula Mountains, a tale emerged of a 1938 archaeological expedition that uncovered a series of mysterious stone discs buried in a cave. According to the legend, these so-called Dropa stones each had a fine spiral groove that, when placed under a powerful microscope, revealed a series of impossibly tiny hieroglyphics. The story grew even more extraordinary with the alleged translation of this text, which described the crash landing of a spacecraft and the plight of its stranded crew, the Dropa people. It was the ultimate ancient astronaut narrative, a perfect storm of mystery and cosmic wonder. The only problem is that every single part of this story is a complete fabrication. No credible archaeologist was involved, the stones have never been produced for study, and the entire narrative was traced back to a German magazine article written as speculative fiction. The Dropa stones are a proven and elaborate hoax, so why do they matter in our countdown of genuine innovations? Their significance lies not in what they are, but in what they represent. They are the ultimate symbol of our deep-seated desire for a past that is more extraordinary, more mysterious than the one we have. They tap into a powerful human longing for answers that lie beyond our current understanding, even if we have to invent them. The persistence of this story in books and documentaries, long after it was debunked, serves as a crucial cautionary tale. It highlights the immense allure of sensationalism and the danger it poses to genuine archaeological discovery. When we are so eager to believe in ancient spaceships, we risk overlooking the true and often more subtle marvels of human ingenuity that are right in front of us. The real hidden age of innovation is not found in fantastical tales of alien visitors, but in the tangible, verifiable evidence of our ancestors' own brilliance. The Dropa stones stand as a permanent reminder that the most important tool in any investigation is not a microscope, but a healthy, unwavering skepticism. Our search for a lost world must be driven by evidence, not by wishful thinking, for the truth of human achievement is wondrous enough on its own. These 25 discoveries are not just a random collection of curiosities. When we step back, distinct patterns of ancient genius come sharply into focus, revealing a shared language of innovation spoken across continents and millennia. One of the most powerful themes is a deep, almost intimate mastery of materials. This was not just about using what was available, but about fundamentally transforming substances to defy their natural limits. The Romans did not simply make concrete, they engineered a self-healing stone that grew stronger with time. The Indian metalworkers did not just forge iron, they tamed its most destructive tendency by creating a pillar that repels rust. These artisans were manipulating the very building blocks of their world, achieving properties that our modern science is only now learning to replicate. They were material scientists in practice, if not in name. A second, equally profound theme is the universal drive to map the heavens and measure time. From the intricate bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism calculating celestial cycles, to the stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe aligned with the stars, to the gate of the sun encoding a luni-solar calendar, we see civilizations independently arriving at a stunning conclusion. The universe is a predictable, mechanical system, and humanity can build machines and monuments to comprehend its rhythms. This was not mere stargazing, it was a form of high technology, using the sky as the ultimate clock and compass. But innovation is not only about objects and equations. Some of the most enduring breakthroughs were social. The Indus Valley's commitment to public health through city-wide sanitation, and the collective effort required to walk the Moai across Easter Island represent a different kind of genius. This is the technology of community, the ability to organize thousands of people around a shared vision for a better, more orderly, or more spiritually connected world. The true engine behind these flashes of brilliance was rarely a lone inventor. Most of these wonders were the product of cumulative knowledge, the slow, patient work of generations of anonymous craftsmen. A Roman glassmaker did not suddenly invent nanoparticles. He inherited a recipe perfected through centuries of trial and error at the furnace, a body of empirical knowledge passed from master to apprentice. This is why the story of innovation is so fragile. It is not a straight, upward line. The Phaistos disc shows us a revolutionary idea, movable type, that appeared once and then vanished without a trace. The principles of Greek fire were so closely guarded that they were lost forever when the empire fell. Entire systems of knowledge, like the urban planning of the Indus Valley, were forgotten for thousands of years, only to be reinvented much later. This hidden age was not a single golden era. It was a global tapestry of brilliant, often isolated, flashes of human potential. It proves that ingenuity is a fundamental human trait, capable of flowering in any time or place, given the right conditions of curiosity, need, and the collective will to make the impossible real. This journey through 25 astonishing discoveries reveals a past crackling with ingenuity, a world far more dynamic and brilliant than our history books ever allowed. From the intricate bronze gears predicting celestial movements to the sprawling, orderly sewers of the Indus Valley, the evidence forms an undeniable pattern. Our ancestors were not primitive figures waiting for progress to begin. They were pioneers in their own right, solving complex problems with the materials and knowledge they possessed. They achieved feats of engineering, artistry, and social organization that continue to inspire and, in many cases, completely baffle our modern understanding. This hidden age of innovation stands as a powerful challenge to our own chronological arrogance. It forcefully expands our definition of human potential, proving that brilliance is not the sole property of the modern era. It can flourish in any time, in any culture, when curiosity and need converge. The story of progress is not a simple, upward march. It is a tapestry with threads that fray, patterns that are forgotten, and entire sections that are woven, lost, and then rediscovered centuries later. As we continue to dig, both in the earth and through the archives of our collective past, Who can possibly guess what other secrets await us? The story of human innovation is still being written, and as these 25 finds prove, its earliest chapters are more profound and more incredible than we ever dared to believe. We would love to hear which of these discoveries amazed you the most, so share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to join us as we continue our explorations into the greatest mysteries of our shared